This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Hot Mic, ready to rock and roll here on this Thursday morning. Get set for another road trip this weekend. North Dakota State football heading to the state of Kentucky for the second time in program history. They played Eastern Kentucky back in the mid-'70s in the Division II days. They have not played a Division I football game. That will end on Saturday afternoon when the Bison will take on the Murray State Racers, second ever matchup between the two schools. And you'd think, well, there's not many connections there. Well, you'd be wrong. There's a couple of really strong ones, including the starting quarterback is a former Bison, and the guy who coaches the quarterbacks is a former Bison, and not just a former Bison. He is a man with a parody Twitter account and who also still played football after he was done playing football. It's Zeb Noland who joins us this morning, Murray State's quarterback coach. You got your own T-shirts, man. You're a big deal. I appreciate you didn't big time me this morning. How you been?
I've been good, man. The first person that ever asked me for a shirt was Cam Miller and Hunter Brozio. They love that account. They love giving me a hard time as much as I give them a hard time. So I know they got them a nice little T-shirt somewhere.
That's fantastic. Let's just tell me when the job opened up and this opportunity came. Tell me about this and why you felt this was the right spot for you to be at.
Yes, sir. So when Coach Wright called me and told me that he's taking the job here, I obviously knew that they were in the Valley and knew how hard the Valley was. And he's like, it's such a valuable resource to be able to know most of your opponents and know who you're playing and kind of know the ways of the road in the conference. And, I knew the challenge was going to be really hard. It's a very, very hard conference, but, I was very excited for the opportunity. I really didn't care where it was geographically. I'd have went anywhere, but, saw this schedule and your eyes get kind of big at first because 2 SEC teams and you got the Bison and the Jacks. So I said, why not, just go do all we can to be as good as we can and, lay a good foundation. And I worked with Coach Wright at South Carolina, so I wanted to work with him again. He's a blessing to work for, so I was just really excited for the opportunity.
And he knows everybody, Zeb, it seems like, from Kirby Smart to Nick Saban. Is that accurate for Coach Wright, that he knows everybody?
He knows every day in the staff meeting, he's got to give a story about somebody that he's been around or worked for. It's really funny.
So now that it's game week and it's North Dakota State, what are the emotions like for you? Knowing that, does everything flood back about your time in Fargo?
It does, and I had talked with the guys a bunch throughout the season because we played some common opponents, and the first thing I called my dad and said was, "Man, it's a lot different preparing for them than playing for them," because, and especially knowing the guys and seeing them mature. I think that's the thing I told our staff. I said, I think as a former player and a former Bison, I said the thing that's most eye-opening is watching how well these guys developed. Because everybody was young when I was there, but watching everybody develop and who's playing now. And I think I challenged our team, and it's a tall task, but we wouldn't want it any other way, and that was our mentality there. So that's, the mentality I'm riding with here.
I think, Zeb, people forget of the circumstances of you getting here from transferring from Iowa State, that 2019 season you were Trey Lance's backup, and then the wild, weird fall of COVID and the one game, and then Trey leaves, and then you're going to be the starter. How do you even encapsulate what that period was from 2020 to the spring of 2021?
When it first came out, we were getting canceled and all that after that first spring practice back. That's one of my most vivid memories was that first spring practice, and then they told us to go home and then not come back till June 1. And then, kind of set in a little bit. And then I would say it was very emotional for all of us. I'm sure you've heard them talk about that team meeting we had in the dome, because we had to sit 6 feet apart, whatnot. And it was just super emotional for all of us, seniors coming, seniors going, Trey leaving, who's one of my best friends I still talk to every day. It's super emotional. And you get to the spring and, we had done fall camp again, in winter camp, as Kramer likes to say. So, it was just very, I would say the thing that it was very emotional. And then I tell a story all the time. Like the last time I cut my tape off at Sam Houston, that was it for me. And I had to tell all those guys goodbye. Cole Jacob and Garrett Wagner, my roommates there, and they're coming down to the game this weekend, and it's just kind of surreal that it all comes full circle back, to where we said goodbye, play the Bison again and they'll be here. So.
Yeah. Man, that's just crazy when you say that. The opportunity to start, what do you remember about that? The chances of play, okay, we're playing, I'm going to be the starting quarterback after Trey Lance goes to the NFL draft. Inherently there was pressure. How did you handle that?
I think Coach Roll did a really good job. There was I can't even remember it, but there was a little video on Russell Wilson that kind of stuck, because Coach Roll and I are kind of hard-headed and stubborn at times and loved each other for it. But there was a video that we always come back to, and it was just like how he handled pressure and stuff like that. And, I just remember every day, like, all right, you got a really, really good defense. You've got plenty of weapons on offense with Lupke and all those guys. Just go out there and do your job, and it was hard to do at the time, but looking back on it, the best thing that ever happened to me was that spring season, because when my opportunity came at South Carolina, I was prepared for it, and the moment was never too big, and I was able to say, okay, just go out there and have fun and enjoy your moment, right? And I think that's what I took from that spring season, is enjoying the moment. You never know when it's over.
I got to ask you about that in a minute. Give us your first recollections of Cam Miller, because Cam was a true freshman in the fall of 2020 when you guys practiced once and played once.
Yeah. I think the first thing that stands out to me is we met every morning at 7 a.m. down there in the team room in the dome, and Cam was at the dining hall still, and Trey and I were there, and Coach Hedberg comes down like he did every single day, and you knew he was going to open the left door and peek in, and he peeks in and said, "Well, where's Cam at?" And, kind of got on us, and we called Cam and, belittled him a little bit, gave him a hard time, but obviously credit to him. He did a great job of, carrying on the legacy of a Bison quarterback and what it means to do that. And, since that day, I think he took it full force and has done an unbelievable job.
He told me that you guys have talked. You still talk regularly. What are those conversations, especially this week? What have those conversations been like?
I think my favorite part has been calling and giving him a hard time about something he may have done. He texted me immediately after the game in Illinois State when he had that fumble, and he said, "Please don't watch the game," because he knew I was going to give him a hard time. But, day-to-day life, I got a really good – I've been giving him a hard time about his mattress NIL deal, his new Dr. Pepper NIL deal.
Yeah.
Because Trey and I didn't get that in Fargo, so, we try to ride him a little bit on that. But, I think it's good for us both to get away and just go back to old times and be friends, take us away from the game a little bit.
I wanted to ask you about that, Zeb, because I asked him yesterday about the dynamic when he came in for you and he ended up starting those last two games in the spring season. How did that change your relationship at that time?
I think it made it stronger because I still had a huge role in the sense of being a vet and knowing, and helping him be prepared, because he still was young. I know that Cole got hurt this week, and he's going to have to do the same thing. And I think that, the way that it works there is like, next man up mentality. Well, Cam's got to do what I did for a young guy and help him get up to pace, but still have a role, and, you think about those things, and it's like, well, he's prepared for the moment because it happened already, right? And it was the roles reversed, and I know he'll do a good job of getting him ready. But I think that was what I was just so concerned with, is like, same thing with Brock Purdy at Iowa State when he went against Oklahoma State. We were the only two there playing at the time, so I had been a part of that before and just wanted him to be his best, You
kind of just shake your head at the amount of quarterbacks you've been around and played with, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and I was blessed to be around Spencer Rattler. It's pretty impressive.
All three guys that have started in the NFL.
And hopefully Cam can win that Walter Payton, So I'm pulling for him, man.
So what's the conversation going to be like prior to the game then on Saturday? You got anything mapped out for when you see him Saturday?
He's already told me he wants to know where I'm sitting at in the box and what what window I'll be in, so when we're on offense, he can give me a hard time. So, but I'm really excited to see his parents, really everybody. I
Yeah.
look at those rosters and it makes me smile. Like just so many guys that the guys that did stay, as former players, as Coach Polasek said in his press conference, is like just to see so many of them. I'm glad Gindy's coming back.
Yeah.
Went to his wedding when he got married, and I ain't seen him since. So just seeing so many old faces, seeing Matt Larson and the guys in the administration, seeing you guys, I just really excited about that.
The other connection I mentioned, your starting quarterback was also in that Bison QB room in 2019 in Jaden Johansson. Give us the backstory on how you got Jaden to Murray.
So funny. I mean, it's funny you say that. So, there was a couple of guys we were looking at in the portal. And dad being dad, he calls me and says, "Son, I'm telling you, I don't know if he'd be your starter or something," but he said, because my little brother played with Jaden.
Correct.
Out at Mines, and he's actually the one that got Ben to Mines. So I was like, I called his dad and him, and I said, "You want to come on a visit?" And they came, and we knew in Fargo he was talented. He was Gatorade Player of the Year in South Dakota. He was athletic, and obviously he's uber smart. He's got his engineering degree. And he just told me, he said, "Look, man, I'm just looking for one more year for an opportunity." And I said, "Well, that's all I can guarantee you."
Mm.
And he came in and took the bull by the horns, and he's done an unbelievable job of, holding us together on offense, holding me accountable. And I think the thing that I'm so blessed is he got to be around us when he was a freshman, and he's teaching our young guys, daily preparation, because we do the same exact schedule that those guys do every day on their own. And hell, he's even breaking down film now for us because he has nothing else to do because his classes are over. So I don't mind that on my end. But, I think it's a blessing as my first time as a full-time position coach of having a guy of knowing my expectations and what Coach Hedberg's expectations were and just taking it and running with it.
Zeb, what have you told the coaching staff about the Missouri Valley? I know Coach Wright has coached everywhere in the SEC. That's as tough as it gets. You know that. But I'm sure they think, well, it's FCS football. What did you tell them about the level of competition in this conference?
I told them that the level of competition, not only are they big, fast, I said the thing that took me away when I first got here is how much people do on offense and defense, because you've got a bunch of intellectual kids that just play really, really hard. Like I lived with Derek Tuska, and even you go back to you and I, the nose tackle they had when we were there, the nose tackle at South Dakota State, like you just go back, the nose guard at Illinois State, and all the great players that have played in this conference is like, not only are they good players and played for 4 years, they can get everybody else lined up too, and I just told them we're going to play against a lot of seniors, a lot of 5th and 6th year guys, and they're going to be able to do a lot on both sides of the ball. And, that is tough because, Kupitz and Wirtz were there with me.
Yep.
You go back, Adam Bach's been at South Dakota State for how long? Yeah. You go through all these rosters, and it's like the Mike linebacker at number 59 for North Dakota. I played against him that spring season.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like these guys know ball, and these coaches don't change much.
I'm curious about this. You had 16,000 people last week for Illinois State. What do we get ourselves into? Is it a big crowd? What's the experience game day going to be like, you think, on Saturday?
I think it'll be good. It's hard to tell sometimes, even if you guys see a picture. There's a lot of people around the field in both end zones. There's tents on both ends. There's like donors in this end zone and all the former players with tents in one end zone.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people really close, and I think it's a really cool atmosphere. I know Cam said he's excited to see this horse run,
Yes.
So it's a good environment, and these people care. We've had really good weather this year, other than one game at home, so everybody enjoys that. And just so you guys know, in the media, they have a special every week up in the concession stand that you need to check out. They're good.
Okay. All right.
So one week they had like a mac and cheese barbecue, like not a parfait, but that type bowl, and then like a specialty hot dog. So
okay,
they do something fun up in the concession stand every week.
Now you got my full attention. Have you been on the horse? Have you been on the horse yet? Have you done racing?
No. I've been around we actually take a bunch of our recruits out to the horse barn and show them the horse and all that.
That's awesome.
But last week, Illinois State stopped it on the track and taking a bunch of pictures with it. And Coach Spack didn't like that too much, but it's hard not to. It's pretty cool.
Before we go, take us back to, you get to South Carolina. You're there for a bit, obviously getting integrated as a GA, and then Coach Beamer comes to you and says, "Hey, we may need you." Like, can you give us the backstory on how this all came together?
Yeah. So in the summer, we started out. We had some camps, and we had pulled a tight end aside, and everybody else was in the stadium. We brought him back over, and I threw for him, and the offensive coordinator, who's at Nebraska now, was like, "You got any eligibility left?" And I was like, to be honest, I have no clue. And, because I really didn't exit and end a career in football. I just left to be a GA. So we go to the first scrimmage in fall camp. That walked through before the starter had broke his foot, and it didn't go great. And we didn't really have much depth. And at the end of the meeting, I was like, if I can get through compliance, I'll play, because I mean, what do I have to lose at this point? We're new staff, new year. So practice 11, I started on that Monday of fall camp, and we played Eastern Illinois not long after that.
Yeah.
At least I knew the plays, but I said, so you'll love this. So go out to practice, stretch. The very first period's blitz pickup. If everybody else is in full pads, I'm in just the jersey. And he's like, "Where's my quarterback?" And I pointed at the other kid and said, "He's right there." He said, "No, go ahead." And the DC brings all out blitz the first play, and we complete a ball. So, that season, now you don't talk about a season that went by fast. It was like you blinked your eye and it was over. But it was so much fun, and I enjoyed it. And
you were talking to everybody, I mean, right? ESPN, everybody got on that story.
Yeah. It was – the first 2 weeks were tough just because there were so many people, wanting to talk. And, I was like, "Hey, guys, I'm just trying not to mess it up for these other guys that have been here for a while and keep Beamer's job,
Hey, before we let you go, I know how successful your dad is a high school coach in Georgia. Is head coach on is that the top priority? That the end goal for you?
That is. I would love to be a head coach. Told my wife, told my parents and my family, I really have no true destination. I think that's God's plan, but I would love nothing more to be a head coach someday, and build I think one of the things that gets lost when people talk about coaches getting hired and fired is building a staff. I just think about sometimes who I would hire. And I've told James Hendricks, I know he works at Northwestern Mutual right now, but I told him for a long time, I said, "Man, after you told me what you did, after you made that pick in the Natty, it'd be hard not to hire you as a coach one day," So,
well,
I think about those things a lot.
Much like you, he's the son of a coach too. He knows he knows the game. So,
and he said, "I saw that look twice all year, and I knew when they brought that motion, I'm gonna pick it." And I said, "Well, sounds like somebody that needs to be coaching ball."
By the way, just now you think about it, that spring of 21, you were throwing to two NFL guys in Christian Watson and Hunter Lipke, man. Does that just boggle your mind?
Yeah, and the crazy part is, like, full circle. I go to South Carolina and play with Jalen Brooks, who plays for the Dallas Cowboys. So now you got Trey and Lipke playing with one of my teammates from South Carolina. It's crazy.
It's awesome. You are. It's like the 6 degrees of Zeb Noland.
That's right.
Really, everybody, man.
That's right.
Thanks so much for doing this, bud. It's great to see you. I can't wait to see you on Saturday, okay?
Yes, sir. Y'all be safe.
Zeb Noland, former Bison quarterback, Murray State quarterback coach, joining us this morning. That was great stuff, and we'll look forward to seeing Zeb on Saturday. Much more on that coming up as well on Bison Game Day. Good stuff there from a guy that spent a couple years here, and boy, it was tumultuous is the best way to say it. Especially that fall, there could be a book written about that, about the fall of 20 and the spring of 21 around Bison football, about what that team could have been in the fall of 2020 and what ended up really happening. That 10, 15 years down the road, we'll look back and just say, wow. That was good stuff. We're overdue for a break. We'll take one here and get caught up. We got Justin Guard from KFAN coming up here in about 10 minutes. Hot Mic rolls on. We're back right after this.